I'm Margot True. I'm the food editor here at Sunset Magazine in Oakland, California. And with me is Yasmin Khan, a writer and cookbook author from London, who's going to cook with California produce today to create a recipe out of this beautiful James Beard Award nominated cookbook, The Saffron Tales, that is all about Iran and the beautiful food of Iran. So Yasmin, what are you going to make out of this today?
Well, I'm going to be making one of my favorite recipes in the book. It's called a Kuku Sabzi. It's a fragrant kind of herb frittata that's really common in Iran and it's perfect for this time of year in terms of kind of food you can eat outside.
Lovely picnic food,
yeah,
isn't
really
it?
good picnic food. And picnics are a really big thing in Iran. Although I have to start by saying, actually, my book wasn't nominated for a beard. And just to clarify that, but it did come out last year, and it's a book that's a collection of travel stories and recipes that I gathered when I traveled all the way through Iran.
Ah, right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's such a glorious book. I guess I just assumed that it had been because it is really, truly beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, let's begin. And oh, by the way, everybody watching, if you have questions for Yasmin as she's cooking, please ask her. And Kendra, off camera, will ask them, and you'll respond.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
The more questions, the better. It's I love kind of being able to share little tidbits about kind of Persian food and kind of what makes kind of good recipes. So please ask your questions, and I look forward to sharing this recipe with you.
Lovely.
All right. So, are you going to give me a hand today?
I will. I brought an extra cutting board just for that purpose.
Excellent. Well, seeing as I'm in California and I know how everybody is all about the greens here, I thought I'd pick a dish that makes the most of... Oh, look at this. It just shows it's organic, what I bought, because we have a little ladybird. Isn't that cute?
Yes, and I love that you call it a ladybird.
What do you guys call it?
A ladybug.
What? So what we're going to do is we've got about kind of 3 cups of spinach here, and we're just going to start chopping them quite finely. Do you want to have a go on that?
I'll have a go.
Now, you can, of course, just do this in a food processor as well. This isn't like making a tabbouleh where like you specifically need to use your knife so that you don't kind of tear the vegetables, but it does give a slightly better texture to the final kuku. So we're just going to do it by hand. So yeah, we've got about 3 cups of spinach, and here we've got about probably like 2 cups of kind of a mix of cilantro and parsley. What's sabzi in Farsi means herbs. So this is like a herb kuku. And you can be really flexible with it. So it's one of those recipes that, if you've got sometimes, if you like have a bunch of greens in the back of the fridge that are just going a bit, they're not looking the most beautiful, it's a good way to use them up.
Yeah, brilliant, because who doesn't have that,
Sometimes as well you get a recipe and it just like asks for like a little bit of like cilantro or something. You're like, what am I going to do with the rest of that? Well, you can just chop it up and put it in this.
And that's so interesting. I had not fully realized that cilantro was also quite often used in Persian cooking.
Yeah, I mean, if there's a herb that grows, like Iranians are going to cook with it. It's one of the most fragrant cuisines that I've come across. And, in the same way that, say, like Vietnamese food is known for having kind of fresh kind of herbs that you might have on the table. It's the same in Persian food. So we traditionally start kind of meals with just sabzi khordan, which is just like a platter of fresh herbs.
That is very similar to Vietnamese.
Yeah. And like I said, today we're using dill, cilantro, parsley, spinach, but you can use chives. I probably, you could use tarragon, you can use fenugreek. Just whatever you've got, really. The main point of the frittata is just to have lots of kind of fragrant herbs in it. So it can just be whichever kind of batch that you like.
Yeah, lovely. Well, Yasmin, I've noticed that you use Persian and Iranian kind of interchangeably. Which is one more correct than another, or interchangeable, or?
Yeah, well, it's a really good question. So there's no such country as Persia, right? There's just a country called Iran that's in the Middle East. And Persia was the name given to Iran several thousand years ago by the ancient Greeks. And it was kind of how it was known throughout the West. But then in the 1930s, the Iranian government issued a decree saying that we call ourselves Iranian, our country's Iran, kind of asking other kind of, I guess, governments around the world to call it Iran. So that kind of sticked, and Iranians have always called themselves Iranians. However, after the 1979 revolution that brought about kind of an Islamic government in Iran, obviously since then Iran's been kind of really mainly represented through kind of quite negative kind of media portrayals. So what we've seen in the States especially is the Iranian diaspora calling themselves Persian. Especially when it comes to their culture and their cuisine. So, I use the words interchangeably in my book, Persian and Iranian. I think that when you think of Persia, you think of like magic carpets and
Sherazade.
Exactly, 1001 Nights.
Right.
But what I would like people to know is that actually all of that beauty, all of that culture, all of that history, all of that exquisite art and architecture actually exists in Iran because they're the same place.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Thank you for that clarification.
I'm very passionate about it. Yeah.
Excellent. And you do say as much in your book as well. In fact, it's the first thing you read in the book is a little Persia or Iran, and now you know.
It's like the question I get, there's two questions I get asked all the time. One is like the Persia versus Iran question, and then the other one is how do you peel a pomegranate?
Right.
But we don't have any pomegranates today,
Wow.
and they're not in season, so I'll have to come back in the autumn or the winter to.
Well, please do. Open invitation. Well, and another thing you mentioned culture, and that it's such a lovely aspect of your book. There, you really take us, the readers, all around Iran on your journey. And you really talk about home cooking and the beauty of the landscape and the roots of each cuisine within Persia, because like any ancient country, there are very distinct cuisines even within Iran. So it's just, can you talk a little bit about where your family is from?
Sure. So, I was born in the UK, but I've been traveling back to Iran all my life. But what was quite unique about this book is that as opposed to just visiting my family in the northern Iran, my family from the Caspian Sea region, I got to go on this like incredible culinary adventure all the way from like the mountains of like Tabriz, through like cosmopolitan cities like Tehran, through like the rice paddies and tea plantations of Gilan, and through like the deserts of central Iran, and right down to the south by the kind of Persian Gulf, which is like this incredible place that used to be on the old maritime spice route, bringing spices from India to Venice. So it's got like this incredible mix of kind of Indian and Arabic flavors. So, what I really learned on that huge journey was just about the diversity that you see in Iran. Iran isn't a homogenous place. It's a place with so many different kind of ethnic groups, local dialects, culinary traditions. And what was really important to me, again, when kind of writing this book is, I wanted to offer people a window into Iran. Growing up in the West, like I kind of just kept getting fed up with like the prism being so narrow of how Iran was depicted. And I thought, well, actually, food is such a wonderful way to kind of tell a story and to take people on a journey. I was speaking to someone here yesterday who told me the most wonderful quote that stayed with me all of today, actually, which says that your enemy is just someone whose story you haven't heard yet.
Oh, lovely.
And that really resonated with me because I think it's so easy to kind of, demonize who we think is the other, and what I wanted to do was use food as a way of celebrating our commonality. Well,
and it does that so well. So as you are about to show us.
Yes.
Yeah. It smells so good, you guys. I wish you could smell all these herbs.
Yeah, it's so fragrant, isn't it? When I think, people sometimes say to me kind of what makes you kind of think of Iran, and it's this fragrance. You actually asked me where my family are from, and they're from the north of Iran, which is this verdant landscape. It doesn't look anything like what people think of like Iran normally looks like. It's full of rice paddies, tea plantations, forests, streams, and so many kind of beautiful greens. and when I think of Iran, I think of these kind of greens because my family are farmers. So we have a small plot of land where my kind of grandfather and also my kind of my uncles now harvest the land, growing rice and legumes and all kinds of kind of squashes and aubergines and tomatoes, and we've got walnut trees, and I mean it's just like an incredible food playground.
Wow.
But this dish is one that it's very common in our house just to eat from what we have on the land. You know, like we've got chickens, so we'll get the eggs from that. We grow our own garlic, which I'm just putting in, just a couple of cloves of garlic, just in a bit of like neutral oil. Like we're using canola oil here, I think. Yeah,
yes.
I'm going to use a bit more because, you know, it's always good. But yeah, we would have all of this stuff on the land. And I guess that's one of the things I've always loved about kind of this bit of the world as well. You know, the movement or the celebration of kind of eating local food. And yeah, it's such a great way to enjoy ingredients.
Yeah, it is. And I love the part in the book when you talk about, you know, going with your family on these lovely hikes to the waterfalls of Gilan, which sounds like, you know, to us here, it sounds so fabulous, like some sort of dream. It sounds like a poem.
It really is.
The waterfalls of Gilan.
It really is. And, you know,
then you take this dish with you.
Absolutely. This is like classic picnic fodder. And, you know, I was, you know, we talk about similarities. So I was in DC a few weeks ago. And one Sunday, it was really hot, so we went out to one of the parks, like Rock Creek Park. It's really beautiful. We just went on a little walk along kind of a little stream. And, you know, you could kind of hear the running water. And I just, you wouldn't think it, but like it really just took me back to Gilan, because if I was with my family then, we'd like be getting in the water, like splashing around. We'd always go and find like a nice waterfall that we could kind of like have a swim kind of, under in the water. And, you know, there's nothing better than eating kind of good food outside, isn't it?
Especially after you've been in the water, because of course you're much hungrier. You're hungrier by like twice, usually.
Yeah.
You know. Here it's surfing.
Yeah.
You go surfing, you're ravenous.
I know.
So
I've
now
not
this
done
is
that
like
yet.
you could introduce a new surfing food to coastal California.
Well, I'd love to. You know, the flavors of the Persian kitchen are so honestly, they're so, because it's like a similar Mediterranean climate. It's, you know, it's so similar to the food we have kind of growing locally here in California. I'm sure that's a massive reason why I think there was such a huge move of the Iranian diaspora that came here.
That's right, because Los Angeles has is it the largest population of Iranians outside Iran?
Yeah, there's a huge Iranian American population
Los Angeles.
there.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to tell you what we're doing. So we're just kind of frying off the garlic. We chopped up a couple of spring onions. Do you guys call them spring onions?
We call them green onions here at
Green
Sunset,
onions,
but other people also call them spring onions. It's just, you know, interchangeable, really.
Okay, I'm learning so much on this American trip about, And we're just going to let that, you know, just soften just for a few minutes. And while that's happening, I'm just going to, I guess, prepare the greens. So yeah, we kind of roughly chopped these. You did a wonderful job.
Oh, thank you.
And like I said, it's very flexible. So look at that. You're just looking at it and you just know it's going to be good for you. I'm just going to take this off so that garlic doesn't burn.
This is so nice to see. Usually when, you know, Americans cook with herbs, it's like 2 tablespoons of parsley.
Yeah.
And
it's just like all of them. Exactly.
And monumental amounts.
Yeah. And, you know, it's so easy to grow, you know, it's so easy to grow herbs also kind of at home. It's so easy. You can grow kind of greens like on your windowsill. So I really encourage people to do it. I just think it can transform your cookery. So now, as opposed to say like
I'll take it for you.
Yeah, thank you. As opposed to say like a frittata or a tortilla from like Spain or like Italy, where perhaps the eggs are the dominant feature. In a cuckoo, the eggs are just used to bind the dish. So I'm just putting 4 in for now, and I'm going to grab.
Would you like a spoon?
Yeah.
Okay. A little spoon, like a teaspoon.
Oh, you know, I'm a bit Middle Eastern, so I just kind of like grab whatever and it'll be fine. But I think we've got about like a teaspoon of turmeric. So this is a real Iranian, very quintessential Iranian ingredient, turmeric. We use it quite a lot. And to that I'm going to add, this does need a bit of salt, so about a teaspoon of salt. And a bit of flour just to bind it, I think like around a tablespoon. And then also we'll put about a teaspoon of baking powder, baking soda.
And what does that do?
That just helps it just helps help it kind of rise a little bit. It makes it a bit lighter.
Gives a little structure to it.
Gives it a little structure. Now, I need something to mix this with, and let me just come back to this.
Sure.
So...
I love it. You just mix the eggs right in there.
Yeah, so you don't even need to necessarily worry about beating them in that way, because, it's, you know... and I think I used 4, so I'm going to actually add another...
And this will end up, so with 5 eggs, this would, or 6 eggs.
I'm going to put 6 eggs in, yeah.
This would end up for 6, 8 people? How many?
Oh, well, you know, this is like my constant dilemma. I'm currently writing like another book and trying to get someone from Middle Eastern descent to talk about portion sizes that are in any way,
it's just
good
enough,
for you.
right?
Yeah,
it's just
exactly.
enough.
No, but I would say that this would, be for, 4 to 6 people.
4 to 6, okay.
Yeah. So, do we have any black pepper?
You know, that is such a good question. I feel that I neglected to bring you black pepper. So
well, that's fine. We don't need it.
So imagine the black pepper. A little black pepper would be lovely.
Exactly.
Do you ever use red pepper instead? Are you much of a chili eating
I'm
culture?
just going to test the seasoning. That's really nice.
Oh, good.
Like just the fragrance of the herbs. Just you can
Excellent.
Taste it already. All right.
So the black pepper must have come by way of India,
yeah.
I would imagine.
Yeah, and also the red chili. So red chili is eaten only in the south of Iran. And like I said there, that the food is kind of a real mix of Indian and Arabic flavors. So they use a lot of tamarind, they use ginger, cilantro, red pepper. It's really great.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then of course India benefited so much from its neighbor Iran. Biryani in India is a direct descendant of
naan.
And naan also, yes. These fabulous rice dishes that are such a mainstay in Iran. So.
Yeah, they really are. So, as you can see, it's very thick. We just used the eggs to kind of bind it a little bit. And then we're just going to pour it in here. Oh, look at that.
Wow.
And we'll just spread it out.
There you go. Will you be needing the cutting board anymore?
I won't.
Okay, I think I'll...
No, look at that.
Clear
It just
it away.
looks so, I don't know, so alive, doesn't it?
It really does.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And so you're not moving it at all. You're just letting it be.
I'm just going to let it do its thing, and I'm just going to leave that for a few minutes. And what I might do is, do we have a lid?
Do we have a lid? I will obtain a lid for you.
It's not
Let's
essential.
see. Or you know what? Let me see. I'll see here if we don't have
the
one.
other thing about this dish is that it's often eaten at Iranian New Year, which takes place on the spring equinox, which is on the 21st of March. In Iran, we celebrate on New Year.
Could we use this?
Yeah, we could. Let's do it.
Because I'm not sure which drawer.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
So if you don't have a lid, you can use your cutting board.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a dish that we traditionally eat at also Iranian New Year, because the first meal of New Year always has to incorporate lots of greens, because our New Year is at spring, and spring is all about rebirth and renewal. So we put lots of green in our food.
Oh, lovely. That's very auspicious.
It is.
Yeah. Okay, I'm popping this back here too. And
so I'm going to clear up a little bit so we can prepare our drink.
Yes. Yasmin also brought a drink.
Yeah.
Not just food, but drink also. Lovely one.
So I've just got some water that I'm boiling here. And let me just think where it had to go. I'm just going to put like some Earl Grey tea bags in there.
Lovely.
Because I wanted to introduce you to this. I don't know if you've had it before.
Oh, that looks interesting.
Do you want to hold it up and see if you can tell what it is?
Well, it looks sort of like a cascabel chili, which I'm familiar with here being in the West, but I have a guess that this is some sort of citrus.
It is.
A very hard little citrus.
Should we try and bash it?
Oh, bash it.
Well,
wow.
just to get
the...
Have a smell.
Ah, lime.
Lime. And what do you smell when you have that?
I smell preserved lemon, actually, what I'm most familiar with. And I smell, it's just so intense. It's just very focused citrusiness and a bit of woodsiness as well.
It's really earthy, isn't it?
And very earthy. Oh, that's wonderful.
I'm also just like smelling this, so I'm just
super.
So these are dried limes, and what I'm going to also suggest before I get too into that is that I can smell something burning a little bit.
Oh, you can turn it down a bit.
Turn this down. So all we're doing is we're putting this in here for the base to cook. Oh, we've got a lid.
Brilliant! Let's use that because I think it's actually the cutting board.
Oh, yeah.
I think the cutting board perhaps does not want to be used as a lid. Yeah. There we go. Perfect. Right. Thank you.
Pop that here. But yes.
Great.
I mean, let's have a look. I'm just going to give that one more minute, and then. So yeah, we've got these dried limes, and dried limes are as described, just kind of limes that have been dried in the sun, and they're used a lot in Iranian cuisine in stews. They work really well. You just pierce them a few times and you kind of put them, there's a recipe in my book for a really nice like butternut squash and dried lime stew. They go really well. They're kind of the earthy, slightly bitter citrusy notes go really well with root vegetables. So carrots, squash, pumpkin. And then we also use them in some of our really famous stews to kind of perfume a kind of a lamb stew with split peas and tomatoes. But today, I'm going to use them in a way that my grandmother would use them, because obviously we're entering summer here in California, and obviously I'm bringing together, being part British, and in both in Iran and England, we just drink tea constantly. So I've basically got like tea coming out of my veins at all times. But one of the really nice things to do with these dried limes is to make a kind of black lime tea with it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it can either be served cold or it can be served warm. And it just has such a lovely aroma. So I thought we could do that. So I just put I just used Earl Grey tea bags here.
Okay.
Iranian tea is always served black. Like the tea that they grow in Iran is very light. It's kind of got a bit of like a fragrance, a bit like a Darjeeling.
Okay.
But they often use kind of Earl Greys as well. So I'm just going to pop that in there. All right, I'll do for us for now. And then I'm just going to pierce these with a fork.
With a fork, I can get you one of those.
That's looking good.
And that fish spatula might be good for the moment when you need to lift.
Absolutely. So I'm just going to pierce them a few times because that's what you need to do with dried limes.
Okay.
But I really recommend buying them and having an experiment with them. I also use them. They're such an aromatic kind of Iranian ingredient. They're one of my favourites. You can grind them up in a more sophisticated way than I did there, by perhaps putting them in a spice grinder or in a coffee grinder. And then once it's a fine powder, you can use that to flavour dressings. It's really good with grains. So if you wanted to make like a brown rice salad or a quinoa salad, but you wanted like a bit of an earthy citrus aroma, you could add kind of some dried lime powder.
Oh, exciting.
So just have some fun. I always encourage, I'm a home cook and I'm really passionate about kind of the fun that a home cook can have. I think it's wonderful that, the food world's become so kind of professionalized and everyone's into food over the last 10 years. But
smells good.
Yeah, it's good, right? It's also good just to be able to have some fun and experiment with things.
Nice. It smells very restorative also.
Well, in Iran we have our own ancient healthcare philosophy. In the same way that in India they have Ayurveda, or in China they have traditional Chinese medicine.
Right.
So we have our same system, a different system, sorry. In that, the kind of sour taste is really good for digestion. So in terms of what you said about kind of being restorative, that would be very good kind of post-dinner. Kind of refreshing.
Digestif.
Yeah, exactly, because the bitter from the lime and the sourness is really good. So this is kind of pretty much set at the bottom. And what we
Can you
just
see
do now,
how it's separating
yeah.
from the pan? Very nice.
Yeah. Now you've got two options now. You can, some people kind of turn it over and fry it again on the other side. I like to just stick it under the broiler. Not the grill. I said grill earlier.
Grill in England, but broiler for us.
So what do you do with barbecue? Do you broil it?
Oh, no. We grill. We grill the barbecue.
Right.
At least here in the West. If we're in the South, we barbecue the barbecue, which is low and slow. But grilling is hot and fast.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
all right.
We can whack this under the broiler.
All right. Would you?
Phrase I've not said too often.
Yeah. Did you say whack?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
So
we'll just put this.
And actually, we have to take a slight break for an advertisement, and we'll be right back. Hi, Facebook. I'm Margot True. I'm the food editor here at Sunset Magazine in Oakland, California. And with me is Yasmin Khan, all the way from London, who's written a brilliant cookbook called The Saffron Tales, and she is making this wonderful herb omelet. Kuku.
A cuckoo.
A cuckoo. And it's about to come out.
It is.
So you tuned in just at the right moment if you're just tuning in. So how much longer does it have to go, do you think?
Just another couple of minutes. So what we can do is maybe start slicing the tomatoes and getting our accompaniments to go with it.
I'll bring back our cutting boards.
I feel like I made a bit of a mess, so
that's
I apologize.
All right. It's a home kitchen.
It's true.
You're allowed to mess it up.
My mom's not watching. Like, what is she doing?
All right, here we go. I'm just bringing back everything we used before.
Yeah. Now, the thing is with these cuckoos, which is just a great word that I'm just going to keep on saying, is that, they're used very commonly in Iran to just use up a kind of a glut of seasonal vegetables that you might have. So you can make like potato cuckoos. I've got a recipe in my book for like a barberry, saffron and potato one that I do like as little like kind of muffins that are really great to take on kind of picnics with you.
What is a barberry?
Oh, a barberry is a type
you might
of
not
small,
know.
red, sharp berry. In Persian cooking in Iran, we use a lot of sour fruits in our main meals. Kind of fruit is very much used, kind of whether it's pomegranates or sour plums or apricots or prunes or I said pomegranates. I never have too many pomegranates. Or limes or Seville oranges. We use fruits a lot in savoury courses, and barberries are just another berry. They impart like a wonderful kind of sharp tang and a beautiful colour because they're in little scarlet kind of beads that just glisten in kind of rice dishes or in a cuckoo.
Yeah, they look like little rubies.
Yeah.
I've heard them described as little tiny rubies in your rice or any other food. So lovely.
It's a very decorative culture, Iranian culture. So we can just slice up some tomatoes roughly.
Sure. All right. Do you prefer that they be little circles or wedges or? How about this?
There you go. Yeah, whichever way. Yeah,
whichever way.
Circles is fine.
Okay. Can do wedges as well, but do sort of thickish circles. And I suppose I could cut them in half if you like.
Yeah. Well, we're just going to make little pockets.
All right. In that case, maybe having would be easier for stuffing.
Oops.
That smells delicious.
Smelling good, isn't it?
Oh, so much
and
so.
Here you have it.
Wow. Does that require a plate for inverting, or you just simply slide it out?
Well, you can just slide it out.
All right.
Yeah,
Madame?
Beautiful. So, I always say to people, kind of cookies are a great thing to make. One of my favorite ones is a caramelized onion and green bean one. Just any time you've got like a bunch of vegetables you want to use up. They're kind of healthy. In fact, if we had some barberries, we could have scattered them on here. Some people do their cuckoos with sabzis with barberries. Just look at that. Just like beautiful emerald green color, packed with green goodness.
And it was so easy.
So easy.
That was really easy.
Yeah. And I'm just going to cut it into little pieces, just so that it, like.
How fragrant it is. Whoops. There
Lovely.
we go. Fabulous.
Yeah, you know, I think there's a, you know, some people sometimes think, oh, Middle Eastern food is very complicated or a little bit kind of challenging. But often I find that, you know, it's just about cooking with ingredients we already know, but just using them in a slightly different way. You know? So what we typically would serve this with is, I'm just going to put some of these on your plate, and then we'll just assemble them. So we've got some nice sharp feta. I'll put some on here as well. So you can imagine if we went on a picnic, all of these things would be bought out of little boxes. And then walnuts. Walnuts are very common in Persian cookery. So you know how, say in East Asia, they use a lot of peanuts in their sauces. In Iran, we actually use kind of walnuts as the base of stews. We make them, put them in soups. We put them in marinades. And my one tip with walnuts, because some people say to me, oh, I don't really like walnuts, they can be a bit bitter. But, you know, like any nut, they just, you know, once they are exposed to oxygen, they just kind of go off quite quickly. So always use the freshest ones you can, seal jars properly, and kind of buy them in small batches, and then you won't have a problem with them going bitter. Although I have to say, nuts here are exceptionally sweet.
Oh, well. Yeah. Like the population, right?
Absolutely.
Well, but shouldn't, I know that there's a tradition of soaking walnuts also, right?
Yeah.
And do you do that as well with something like this? Or?
Not for something like this, but often for breakfast. So again, it's a similar thing that they recommend in Ayurveda. That if you, by soaking nuts, it kind of removes some of their impurities and some of the kind of more, the kind of elements that are slightly hard to digest. So quite often people, you know, for breakfast they might have like a beautiful kind of warm toasted flatbread with sour cherry jams and cheeses and nuts, and they would soak the nuts overnight. And so in the morning the skins just peel off and they're kind of blanched almost, and they're kind of soft and much easier to digest. So, all right, so we've got some pickles here. They're Middle Eastern pickles, so that means that they are sour and salty. So pickles are used a lot in Persian cuisine. If you go to the store to buy some to accompany a Persian meal, just make sure that they're salty and sour. Kind of sweet pickles don't really work.
Don't exist. And these of course are Persian cucumbers, right?
Yeah.
It helps us see the dimensions of that pickle.
So I'm just going to pop all these here, and then we'll just assemble them together. All right. That'll do. Okay. Okay. So do you want to take yours?
Thank you.
Mine, and then we'll get our little bread.
Oh, bread too.
Yeah.
Wow. And actually, I'm remembering that you said that on your picnics you would actually wrap them up.
Yes, so that's what we're going to do.
Okay.
So let's move this. Actually, yeah, let's move this out of the way.
All right. Yes. Give us a little bit of more.
Yeah.
Room to dine.
Exactly.
Okay. Wow. On this herby background.
I know. Well, we can imagine we're by a waterfall in Gilan.
That would be nice.
Yeah, I'm actually going to Iran in a few weeks, and I'm so excited.
Oh, nice.
It's going to be very hot at this time of year, very hot and humid in Gilan, so I'm not looking forward to that. The humidity is very intense, but what I am looking forward to is just the beautiful nature. It's so stunning and so green. And very magical. Yeah,
and being with your family.
Yeah, really looking forward to it. Okay. Okay. So,
I watch you.
You watch me. I mean, so you know what? I'm going to just put the whole thing in my wrap. Oh, actually, is that going to be too ambitious? Let's just take half of it. So we just want some kuku. It's just such a great word.
It is a happy word.
It is a happy word. Some feta. Some tomato. I think the pickles are quite big today, aren't they?
Do you want me to slice one in half?
I think so, yeah.
Just lengthwise sort of thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
And some walnuts.
There you go.
Wow. Lovely. And that, so you just have this really colourful, healthy wrap. And there you have it.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Okay. I'm going to give it a shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know we
have to try and eat it in a dignified manner.
Try to. We're not near the the waterfall can't rinse us clean.
I know.
That we do have a sink right behind us. Another thing that you said in the book that I found very charming is you described the Iranian tradition of sharing, you know, and just everything is communal, and you give people bites of your food when you're on a train, and you know, I thought that was quite.
It's a very
nice
sharing
thing.
Culture. You know, I always say that, you know, if you're at someone's house and, you know, there's a big bowl of fruit and someone kind of takes an apple, you know, you wouldn't traditionally just eat that apple on your own. You would cut it into slices. You would pass it to the person next to you. They would pass it to the person next to them, and it would go around till everyone's had a slice. And if it comes back to you and the apple's all gone, you just pick another apple. So that communal spirit, that spirit of generosity is a huge part of Iranian life. So I'm going to cheat, and I'm going to cut this in half.
Okay.
Are you going to go all in?
I'm going to go all in.
You're going to go all in.
I'm going to go all in.
You're heartier than me.
And then what do you say? We would say bon appetit, and you would say...
Well, in Iran, when someone eats something that they really enjoy, and you know, you can tell they're liking it, you say nushajan, which means let your soul be nourished by what you're about to eat, or what you're eating. Yeah. So nushajan.
Nushajan. All right, here we go.
It's really good. I took
Really
too much.
good. So did I. It's so good.
So you get, you know, that medley of all the herbs, and you know, they just come together. So no single herb is overpowering.
That's right.
And then the sharpness from the feta, the kind of sour flavors from the pickle and the tomato,
and that little earthy turmeric whisper in there. It's really lovely.
It really makes a difference. The
it
turmeric.
does.
Yeah.
It does. Well,
I'm going back.
So from the Saffron Tales, Yasmin Khan, thank you so much.
Thank you.